One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt like there's a side of you that's just out of reach? Like there's a hidden layer to your personality that you can't quite put your finger on? Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, called this elusive part of us the shadow. Jung believed the shadow is a hidden, often misunderstood part of who we are, and understanding this part of ourselves isn't only about self-discovery, but also an experience that could change the way we see ourselves and the world around us. In this video, we will explore Carl Jung's concept of the shadow and how to deal with and understand this mysterious side of our personality. Every day, we often find ourselves adapting to various social settings by putting on different masks or personas, as Carl Jung termed them. These personas are essential tools that help us navigate the complexities of human interaction. They're not just random facades, they're carefully constructed versions of ourselves, molded by societal expectations, cultural norms, and our own desire to fit in. For example, a teacher who steps into the classroom. In that environment, he might embody authority and wisdom to maintain a conducive learning atmosphere. However, when he is at home with his family, that same person might reveal a more relaxed, even playful side of himself. We can think of the persona as a complex adaptation to our world. As Jung wrote, the persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society. It becomes our ally in facing various social contexts, whether at work, with friends, or in family settings. But what about the aspects of ourselves that don't align with the persona we present to the world? According to Jungian psychology, these traits get stored in what's known as the shadow. It's more like a complex archive that holds various traits and emotions we've chosen to set aside. For example, consider someone who's a perfectionist in their work environment. They may strive to always appear composed and in control, never letting frustration or anger show. When they do feel those emotions, perhaps due to a project not going as planned, those feelings don't just vanish. Instead, they're tucked away into the shadow, remaining largely unexplored and unacknowledged. The shadow is more than just a dark corner, where we shove all the traits we don't like about ourselves. It's actually a nuanced space that can also contain positive qualities we've suppressed. For example, think about a young guy who's part of a competitive sport, where toughness is highly valued. In that environment, he might feel that showing his softer, more thoughtful side could make him seem less manly to his peers. So he keeps those parts of himself hidden, maybe hiding his love for poetry or his ability to listen and offer emotional support. These are positive traits, but they get pushed into the shadow because they don't fit the persona he feels pressured to maintain. Over time, this shadow becomes a mix of various hidden emotions, talents, and desires that don't get to see the light of day. It operates on its own in the unconscious part of our minds, almost like a separate character in the story of our lives. This character has its own script and can make unexpected appearances. For example, let's say you're usually a chill and calm person, but out of nowhere, you find yourself snapping at a friend. That's your shadow self making an appearance, showing a burst of anger you didn't even know you were holding on to. The shadow is a part of ourselves that we often struggle to accept, yet it holds essential insights into our true nature. As Jung once said, the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. Understanding the relationship between the persona and the shadow is essential in grasping the complexity of human nature. While the persona helps us navigate social landscapes, the shadow holds the keys to deeper self-understanding. It's a dance of light and darkness, a duality that defines who we are. So, how does the shadow part of us reveal itself? One way is something psychologists call projection. Think of projection like a movie projector casting images onto a screen. Except here, the images are our own hidden traits, and the screen is other people. For example, let's say you're very ambitious, always focused on your goals and never settling for second best. But you start feeling like your friends are too complacent or lazy. In this case, you might be projecting your own hidden fears of failure onto them. You see them as lacking ambition because you're terrified of what lacking ambition would mean for you. Projection acts like a spotlight, shining on those hidden parts of ourselves that we'd rather not see but at the same time need to acknowledge. As Jung stated, projection is one of the commonest psychic phenomena. Everything that is unconscious in ourselves, we discover in our neighbor. and we treat him accordingly. It's crucial to grasp how the shadow not only shapes our perception of others, but also sways our own emotions and actions. If we got these bottled up feelings and desires that we're not even fully aware of, sooner or later, they're going to find a way to surface. Stressful situations often trigger its appearance. Our carefully constructed personas may crack during conflict or pressure, allowing the shadow to seep through. A calm and composed individual might lash out in anger during a heated argument, or a person who prides themselves on independence might suddenly feel needy and insecure during a personal crisis. Jung observed that the shadow becomes particularly active during such times, leading to behaviors that might seem out of character. So what happens when we face our shadow? Facing our shadow sets us on a path toward understanding ourselves better and evolving as individuals. The idea is to embrace the full spectrum of who you are, both the shiny parts and the darker corners. One of the key aspects of embracing the shadow self is that it allows us to be more authentic in our interactions with others. When we accept all parts of ourselves, even those that make us uncomfortable, we can be true to ourselves in every situation. This authenticity can relieve feelings of guilt, shame, and self-doubt that might be holding us back. For example, maybe you've always been a responsible person, but deep down, there's a creative spirit trying to break free. Or perhaps you've always played it safe, but there's a part of you that's curious about taking risks. Embracing your shadow can help you tap into these hidden strengths and resources, opening up new avenues for personal power and fulfillment. This doesn't just make you more whole, it makes you more human. As Jung stated, that which we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. So, how can we discover our shadow? There are several practical approaches to consider, each offering its own unique insights. Firstly, we can start recognizing triggers. Understanding what sets off our shadow can be a real eye-opener. Say you find yourself bursting into anger out of the blue. Instead of brushing it off, take a moment to dig deeper. Ask yourself what fears or frustrations might be lurking beneath that sudden outburst. This self-inquiry can help us become more aware of our shadow's influence. Another way is examining the shadows of others. Observing how these hidden aspects manifest in people around us can offer a mirror to our own shadow. Ever find yourself strongly judging someone else's actions or behavior? That strong reaction could be a clue pointing to a part of yourself that you haven't fully acknowledged. It's like catching a glimpse of your own shadow in someone else's actions. Also, engaging in self-reflection can be very helpful. This could be through journaling, meditation, or even therapy. The goal is to dive into the hidden corners of our psyche. We can ask ourselves questions like, why did I react that way? Or, what emotions are driving this behavior? This process helps us peel back the layers, revealing the complex emotions or desires that might be at play. Lastly, there's the option of seeking professional guidance. Sometimes uncovering the shadow self can be a bit overwhelming journey and may require the expertise of someone trained in Jungian psychology. Therapists or counselors can offer a safe space for this exploration. It's also important to mention that the influence of the shadow isn't confined to just our personal lives. It has a ripple effect that touches society as a whole. When we avoid confronting our own shadow, there's a tendency to project those hidden fears and biases onto other people. This can fuel societal divisions and conflicts, creating an environment where misunderstandings and prejudices thrive. On the other side, taking the time to face our shadows can have a transformative effect, not just for us, but for society at large. It cultivates greater empathy, understanding, and compassion. In a community where people have done this inner work, the outcome can be a more harmonious society where differences are understood and embraced. As Jung stated, the world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. This statement highlights the responsibility each of us carries in shaping not just our own lives, but also the world around us.